there and to state your opinion. And again, folks that are sort of comfortable with science, with the academy, this sort of thing, they tend not to go down. But the board is often very, very welcoming of people. They want to hear from citizens. They especially like to hear from students, which I hadn't realized before I started going down there. But the issue, in a nutshell, is that we have a benchmark in the 10th grade curriculum that says students should describe how scientists continue to investigate and critically analyze aspects of evolutionary theory. And when that was sent up, I said, well, I don't have a problem with that. That's what scientists do. But I didn't realize fully the context at that point. It's very like the Georgia sticker, and it's illegal for the very same reason. And we see that it was built on to produce this lesson plan, which is full of the same stuff that's in the Pandas book, and clearly illegal. In addition, and this hasn't, in fact, Ken got this a little bit wrong in his talk, we already have altered the definition of science here in Ohio. There were two things that the creationists got through in 2002. One was the critically analyzed benchmark, and the other was that they took the Ohio Academy of Science definition of science, and they cut off the part that refers to evidence, and just kept the first part. Now, there are other places in the document, in the standards, where we say that science has to do with evidence. So I didn't get all that excited about that. But you see, it's a process where, you know, little bits chipping away. And actually, the Kansas folks used our definition to build on for that. So it's already here. And that's another element of the standards that is clearly illegal right now. They can fix this next week, next Tuesday, if they hear that people are in favor of it. Does it matter?
Hey, I'm going to answer this question.
It explains why in Kansas, again, in a very few short years, the lessons of 2001 have been forgotten.
Okay. The answer to your question is yes. I think both of those were true. I also think there's another element that, if you read the York Daily Record, which is the paper that covers Dover, almost every day on the internet, which I've been doing for the past 4 or 5 months, you can see this at work. I think the people of Dover were profoundly embarrassed by the actions of several members of the Board of Education. And I gave a hint of it when I said, the judge said, they came in front of me and lied. And there was one point in this trial that was just absolutely hilarious. The purchase of these 60 copies or thereabouts of Pandas and People cost a certain amount, like $692, something like that. I don't know what it was. And they asked Alan Bonsell, who was a member of the board, where that money come from. It's in deposition. He said, I have no idea. It came from an anonymous donor. Okay. So you do the discovery process. You subpoena everybody. Put him on the stand in the trial. Said, where did the money come from? He says, I have absolutely no idea. I heard it came from an anonymous donor. What is this, Mr. Bonsell? Canceled check. How much is it made out to? $692. Whose name is that? It's my name. So would you like to reconsider what you just said? And so forth. And he said, well, what I meant was, I went to my church. I told the congregation we needed money for this. I passed the hat. I collected the money. I put it into my bank account. I wrote the Board of Education a check. But I didn't notice who put in a 5 and who put in a 10 and who put in a 20. So when I said I had no idea where the money came from, that's what I meant. And at that point, the judge cut up the other lawyer and said, excuse me, don't insult the intelligence of this court by pretending that an answer that you have no idea is equivalent to saying you solicited it, you collected it, you bundled it, and transmitted it. There was another case where a member of the board who was one of the instigators named William Buckingham on the deposition at the trial said that he never wanted to teach creationism. He never mentioned creation science. This is a figment in the imagination of the plaintiffs. He just wanted to teach intelligent design. Then they play a videotape from the local news TV station that had preserved the tape. Reporter shoves a microphone in his face and he said, I think as long as we're teaching evolution, we have to balance it by teaching creation science. this sort of disingenuous testimony, I think, profoundly embarrassed people in Dover. I don't know if there'd be anything like that, the equivalent of that in Kansas or Ohio. I think it's fair to say the Dover elections were pretty close. The electorate voted for the new board like 53% to 47%. So it was, even though they won every seat, it wasn't a complete landslide. Has science won the hearts and minds of the people of Dover, Pennsylvania? I don't think so. I think it won the hearts and minds of a fair number of them, and a lot of them just got fed up and disgusted with what they regarded as the antics of the Board of Education. So that's my analysis from outside of what happened in Dover.
In front here.
It's already on. They'll switch to it. Talk right into the microphone.
Okay. Congratulations to yourself, the
Thanks.
plaintiffs, the lawyers, and the entire team that put together the case. Were there any difficult moments during your cross-examination? Was there something that you did not expect? Any line of questioning?
Yeah, there was something that I did not expect, but it wasn't a difficult moment. And that is that during the trial, I talked about the blood clotting, showed some of the slides I showed you. I talked about the flagellum, showed some of the slides I showed you, and I talked about human chromosome number 2. During my cross-examination, I wasn't asked about any of it. In other words, I expected them to fight on the science, not a single challenge on the scientific issue. And that, because I was really prepared for that. And that came as a surprise. And instead, they combed old editions of my textbooks to look for phrases that they could get me to say were equivalent to intelligent design, or they looked for the website that I maintain for my university course, where I have some links if people want to see what the intelligent design controversy is about. They can go to this link. Isn't that the same thing, Dr. Miller, as the statement that the Dover Board of Education penned? And I didn't think so, and I explained why. But it was actually a pretty easy cross-examination from my point of view.
I was very heartened by the Dover decision by Judge Jones. It was sort of one of those positive moments of the year. But I have to think that the creationist movement is going to come up with something else, that there's going to be...
They already have.
Or a sudden emergence theory. Is that, or is there going to be something... What do you think is the next assault going to be from creationists? Because I think intelligent design is dead.
Yeah,
so
well,
what's next?
Okay. You've got it right here. And that is, the next thing is, we don't want to teach intelligent design. We want to teach critical analysis of evolution. That is the next thing. And that is what is being pushed in a whole variety of states. In Kansas, for example, they may have changed the definition of science, but the Kansas Board is adamant saying, comb the standards. We don't mention intelligent design. All we do is critically analyze evolution. So I think critical analysis of evolution is the next step, and you've got it right here.
If I may add one thing, we've been talking about the science, and that's quite appropriate, but I would maintain that until the theological presuppositions that underlie the attacks on evolution are addressed, and they need to be addressed by churches, by clergy, that this anti-evolution movement simply is not going to go away, and there will keep on being new avatars of intelligent design, creationism, or whatever it's called.
Yeah, I mean, critical analysis is nearly as brilliant a moniker as intelligent design, because they say, well, how come the scientists are against critical analysis, right? How could that be? And of course, if you look at the content of the lesson plan, it's not critical and it's not analysis. It's an attempt to convince students to uncritically swallow wholesale, outright lies about the content of science. And you don't have to take my word for it, and indeed the board didn't 2 years ago. But we now have the records, and their own science experts at the Department of Education in Ohio told them, we have the sheets where they said it, they said, the underlined sentence is a lie. This is wrong, this is inaccurate, this is crackpot, this is religion, this is creationism. It's all in there. It's very, very similar to the Dover case, although they weren't quite as dramatic in their public statements. That's the only difference.
There's another in front here. Question.
You talked about the dichotomy between, or the false dichotomy between religious belief and science. And presumably the fear of evolution is based on the belief that if you believe in evolution, then the Bible must be wrong.
That's